So the Switch is a unique console compared to a PS4 or Xbox One. It's a gaming console in the same way a Chromebook is a gaming PC, in which to say it's somewhat weak, but is still an interesting choice for a lot of people. And whenever I say a lot of people, I mean there's definitely a group of people that shouldn't get this console. And with that, I want to explain my reasoning for why you should or should definitely not get a Nintendo Switch. And with that, let's get into it. The first big thing to think about is just the portability of the Switch. It is the gimmick that Nintendo used this time around with their home consoles, and I think it's the best of any gimmick they've done so far. Their most recent gimmick before the Switch was motion controls in the Wii and Wii U, and I think both of those are implemented pretty well, but the portability that the Switch offers, while being a gimmick, is the best gimmick that I've seen so far. Being able to play whatever game you want on your TV and then being able to bring it wherever you want afterwards is incredibly valuable. And I think if there's any situation like you enjoy playing games on phones, you would also really enjoy a Switch. And I say that because there's a lot of different games on cell phones that make their way over to the Switch, and it's similar in size. I wouldn't lie to you and say they're very close. Obviously, most iPhones can fit inside of the screen space of a Switch, but it offers the same style of portability where, while you can't throw it in your pocket, you could easily throw it in a bag and be able to play the same thing you play on a TV at all times. And that's very valuable for someone that enjoys playing games mobily, because you can play basically what a Wii U title used to be. This is where I bring up my comparison to a Chromebook again, because while the Switch is a good mobile gaming unit, it's a lot weaker than a PS4 or an Xbox One, and not even talking about the newest consoles that have come out that no one can find right now. And so, whenever you look at the Switch, you need to realize whenever you're buying the Switch, you're buying a beefy tablet, basically. And because of it, there's some severe compromises you have to make with the power that the Switch has. Even looking at some games like Doom that are present on nearly everything, whenever you look at the Switch version of Doom, it plays a lot worse than any other version out there. And depending on what you want is if you should think about this console or not. If you want a strong, beefy game console, the Switch is not for you, as it really doesn't have the beefy hardware that you may want. You may honestly look at something like a gaming PC for cheap, or look at the newer consoles that no one can find with the PS5 and the Xbox series of consoles. And I don't want to dissuade everyone from getting a Switch. It's really nice, and the portability is great, but if it's your singular console that you want to do everything, then you may not want that. And this is where I want to get into my second portion of this video, games. Nintendo has some of the best first-party exclusives out there, and even has a ton of good third-party and indie games for this console, as I believe this is the best console for indie games if you enjoy it. And the ability to bring any game you want, wherever you want, is an awesome choice also. And with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is where it really matters, I believe. As if you've been a Nintendo fan for any time at all, you already know a lot of these games are really good. But if you haven't, this is where a Nintendo console will really sell it for you, if you really find an interest in the games. I don't have a ton of games, but I have a good amount. And I gotta say, their first party options that they have on here is what sells a console for me every time. Just alone, Pokemon is the reason I bought this console, and a ton of the Mario and Zelda games are worth it too. So whenever you're looking at this console, and you're not sold on just the portability aspect of it, you really need to look at just what exclusives there are on this console, as there's a ton of exclusives that really will sell this console for you, and there's a little bit of everything for everyone, but I will say there's notable exceptions. There's a few franchises that are missing on the Switch that, depending on just what you enjoy, really makes a huge difference. And basically it would be your shooter franchises of Call of Duty and Battlefield. Both are not on the Switch, even though Call of Duty has Call of Duty Mobile, which very easily could be put on the Switch as it plays on cell phones now. Battlefield is much tougher because of the limitations of the Switch's hardware. And the last one, while it is one portion of the game So the one game that is on the Nintendo Switch is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. It is a remastered Xbox 360 game, which while it isn't bad, we don't have Need for Speed Heat, Need for Speed Payback, or Need for Speed 2015, all of which are really good arcade racing games. And I feel like it's in a similar fashion to our shooter games. There's just, in the more arcade and simulation racing, they don't have anything on the Switch. And for shooters, all we have is something like Warface. While it isn't a bad game, it definitely leaves a lot to be desired. And because of that, if you want a strong home console experience where you're not losing a whole bunch of performance, and you want to play things like Call of Duty Battlefield or Need for Speed, or even something like Forza or Gran Turismo, well, then this console's not going to be for you. And that's what I want people to understand is, while the Switch is a really fun console, it offers a lot of portability and different choices whenever you play these games. It's really a family console at heart. While it's fun and while it's portable, it just doesn't offer some of the same things that a PS4 or an Xbox One offers. So if you're trying to compare these to an Xbox One or a PS4, I recommend you just go with one of those two consoles, because chances are you want some of those things that I previously mentioned. And that's why I think, as a whole, the Nintendo Switch is best as a secondary console. As you saw in the previous shot, I have a gaming PC, and my Switch acts as a secondary console so I can play Nintendo exclusives and bring a console with me whenever I want to go places and still play a console. And so that's basically what I think the Switch is best at. If you really like Nintendo games and you don't care about the performance, it's a good home console. But if you care about performance, then the Switch is not the choice for you. Instead, maybe use it as a secondary console to still play the Switch exclusives while playing other games that you want the performance for on a primary console. And with that, I hope it makes your choice for or against Nintendo Switch a little easier. And with that, thank you for watching. Consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and have a good day.